Have you ever had your entire life flipped upside down by a single moment, a secret you weren't supposed to hear, that cuts so deep you can't even breathe? I'm talking about the kind of betrayal that makes you question everything: your marriage, your friendships, your own judgment. My name is Ryan, and I thought I had it all figured out: a loving wife, a solid career, and a best friend who'd been by my side since we were kids. But one rainy night, I stumbled upon a truth that ripped my heart out and left me drowning in doubt. If you've ever been blindsided by the people you trusted most, or if you've ever had to face the wreckage of a life you thought was perfect, stay with me. This isn't just a story about love and friendship. It's about heartbreak, loyalty, and the agonizing question of whether you can ever rebuild what's been broken. I'm sitting here in my dimly lit living room in Asheville, North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains looming dark outside my window, as a storm rumbles in the distance like it's mirroring the chaos in my chest. It's past midnight, and I can't sleep, haunted by a memory that plays on repeat, tearing at me every time I close my eyes. If you've ever felt like the ground beneath you vanished, or if you've ever wondered how to pick up the pieces when the people you love shatter your trust, then you'll get why I need to tell this story, even if it means reliving every gut-wrenching detail. Let's go back to a time when life felt simpler, to a friendship I thought was unbreakable, and a marriage I believed was my rock, until a devastating discovery changed everything I thought I knew. I grew up in a small, artsy corner of Asheville, where the air always carried the scent of pine and the streets buzzed with local musicians and quirky coffee shops. My childhood was a patchwork of freedom and struggle. My mom was a single parent, working double shifts as a nurse, so I spent a lot of time roaming the neighborhood with my best friend, Caleb. Our house was a cramped rental with creaky floors and a tiny backyard, but it was home, filled with the sound of my mom's tired laughter and the clatter of dishes after late-night dinners. I was the shy, awkward kid, always overthinking everything, more comfortable with a sketchbook than a soccer ball. Caleb, on the other hand, was the fearless one, 2 years older than me, with a crooked grin and a knack for getting us into, and out of, trouble. He lived 3 houses down, in a similarly run-down place with his dad, a gruff mechanic who was rarely around. From the time I was 7 and he was 9, we were inseparable, 2 misfits against the world. Caleb was more than a friend. He was the brother I never had. When I was 8, and some older kids cornered me behind the school for being weird, Caleb showed up out of nowhere, fists clenched, and scared them off, not caring that he got a black eye for it. We'd spend endless summer days exploring the trails around the French Broad River, fishing with cheap rods, or just lying in the grass, dreaming about getting out of Asheville someday. He'd talk about becoming a musician, strumming an old guitar his dad had lying around, while I'd sketch the mountains and mumble about maybe being an artist. We had this unspoken pact. Through my mom's financial struggles, his dad's drinking, and every dumb teenage mistake, we had each other's backs. I remember one night when I was 14, after my mom got laid off and I was terrified we'd lose the house, Caleb snuck over with a stolen pack of soda and some candy bars, sitting with me on the porch until dawn, promising we'd figure it out together. That kind of loyalty, I thought, was forever. But even back then, there were flickers of something I didn't fully grasp. Caleb had a reckless streak, a need to push boundaries that sometimes left me uneasy. He'd drag me into pranks, like spray painting graffiti on an abandoned warehouse, that I didn't want to do, laughing off my hesitation with a shrug. And as we got older, into our late teens, I started noticing how he'd charm people, especially girls, with an ease that bordered on manipulative. I'd brush it off, telling myself it was just his personality, that he didn't mean any harm. After all, he was always there for me, like when I flunked a math test and he spent hours helping me study, or when my first high school crush dumped me and he took me to a dive bar to forget, even though we were underage. I idolized him in a way, blind to any flaws, convinced our bond was stronger than anything life could throw at us. By the time I was in my early 20s, life started pulling us in different directions. I stayed in Asheville, working odd jobs while taking night classes at a community college, eventually landing a gig as a graphic designer for a local firm. Caleb, true to his dreams, chased music, bouncing between bands and bartending jobs, often crashing on my couch when he was between places. We didn't see each other as much, but when we did, it was like no time had passed, late-night beers at a hole-in-the-wall on Biltmore Avenue, reminiscing about the dumb stuff we did as kids. Around 25, I met Lauren, a warm, witty woman with hazel eyes and a laugh that could light up a room. She was a teacher at a nearby elementary school, grounded in a way I wasn't, and I fell hard. We dated for 2 years before I proposed on a hike in the Smoky Mountains, the mist rolling over the peaks, as she said yes with tears in her eyes. Caleb was thrilled for me, or so I thought, slapping me on the back and joking about being my best man. He even played a song at our wedding, a rough acoustic piece he wrote, and I remember feeling this swell of gratitude for having him in my life. Lauren and I built a cozy life together in a small house on the edge of Asheville, with a porch swing and a view of the mountains that never got old. I loved the quiet moments with her, cooking dinner while she graded papers, or walking hand in hand through the arboretum on crisp fall days, the leaves crunching underfoot. She brought a stability I'd never had, a sense of home that went beyond four walls. Caleb was still around, popping in and out of town, always with a new story about a gig or a girl. He and Lauren got along well enough, or so I believed. She'd tease him about settling down, and he'd flirt back in that harmless, playful way of his. I never thought twice about it, never saw any reason to worry. My world felt complete. My wife, my career, my oldest friend. I'd sit on that porch swing at dusk, watching the sky turn purple over the ridges, and think I'd finally made it, that nothing could shake what I'd built. But beneath the surface, doubts started creeping in, little things I couldn't quite name. Caleb's visits became more frequent after Lauren and I got married, often unannounced, like he'd just show up with a six-pack and a grin, expecting to hang out for hours. I didn't mind at first, happy to see him, but I started noticing how he'd linger, how his eyes would follow Lauren when she moved around the room. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid. After all, this was Caleb, the guy who'd fought for me, who'd shared every milestone. And Lauren, she was devoted, always quick with a reassuring touch or a quiet, "I love you," when I least expected it. But there were moments, small, fleeting ones, where I'd catch a look between them, a laugh that felt too private, and my stomach would twist. I'd push it down, bury it under layers of trust, because doubting either of them felt like doubting myself. The emotional conflict inside me grew as the years ticked by. By the time I was 32, Lauren and I had been married for 5 years, and while our relationship was strong, it wasn't without strain. We'd been trying for a baby with no luck, and the disappointment hung heavy between us, unspoken but felt in every quiet evening. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects, while Lauren seemed to withdraw a bit, lost in her own thoughts. Caleb, meanwhile, was still the same old Caleb, unpredictable, charming, now 34 and still chasing dreams that never quite panned out. I started feeling this tug of resentment toward him, not for anything specific, but for how easy his life seemed compared to mine, how he could just drift while I carried the weight of responsibility. Yet I felt guilty for even thinking that, remembering all he'd done for me, all we'd been through. I'd lie awake at night, Lauren asleep beside me, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily, wrestling with a mix of loyalty and unease I couldn't shake. Time moved forward, and I tried to focus on the good. Lauren and I went to counseling briefly, working through our grief over not conceiving, and it helped, bringing us closer in small ways. I'd take long drives through the winding roads of the Blue Ridge Parkway, the mountain air clearing my head, telling myself everything was fine, that my life was still on track. Caleb started dating someone new, a bartender named Jess, and I hoped it meant he'd settle down, give me one less thing to overthink. We'd meet up for drinks sometimes at a brewery downtown, the smell of hops and wood smoke in the air, and I'd feel that old camaraderie flicker back, laughing over memories of sneaking into concerts as teens. But even then, there was this undercurrent, a tension I couldn't name, like I was waiting for something to break. I'd drive home after those nights, the city lights fading into the dark hills, and feel a knot in my chest, wondering if I was just paranoid or if I was missing something right in front of me. The unexpected twist came on a stormy October night, just a few months ago, when I was 32 and thought I knew the shape of my life. Lauren had been working late on a school project, and I'd come home early from a client meeting, expecting an empty house. The rain was pounding against the roof, the wind rattling the windows, as I pulled into our driveway, my headlights cutting through the downpour. I noticed Caleb's beat-up truck parked out front, which wasn't unusual. He often stopped by unannounced, but something felt off, a prickle of unease I couldn't explain. I let myself in quietly, shaking off the rain, and heard voices from the kitchen, low and intense. I froze, my boots still on, water dripping onto the hardwood. As I realized it was Caleb and Lauren, their tones hushed but urgent. I should have called out, made my presence known, but some instinct held me back, kept me rooted in the shadows of the hallway. I edged closer, my heart thudding so loud I thought they'd hear it, and caught fragments of their conversation through the patter of rain. Caleb's voice, rough with emotion, saying, "I've tried to stop, Lauren, I swear, but I can't. I've loved you since the first time I saw you, and it's killing me to watch you with him." My breath caught, a cold sweat breaking out on my neck, as I waited for Lauren to shut him down, to tell him he was out of line. But instead, there was a long silence, and then her voice, soft and trembling. "Caleb, you know I care about you, but I'm married. I love Ryan. This can't happen." My knees nearly buckled, not just from his confession, but from her words. Why didn't she sound angry? Why did care about you feel like a punch to the gut? I stood there, hidden by the wall, feeling like my world was crumbling, the life I'd built dissolving in the span of a few seconds. I didn't confront them, couldn't bring myself to step into that kitchen and face whatever truth was waiting. Instead, I slipped back out into the rain, the cold soaking through my jacket, and sat in my car, staring at the blurred outline of our house through the windshield. My mind raced, replaying every interaction I'd ever seen between them, every laugh, every glance, every moment I'd dismissed as nothing. Had I been blind this whole time? Was there more to this than just Caleb's feelings? Did Lauren feel something too, even if she denied it? I thought of our struggles, the distance that had crept in, and wondered if I'd pushed her away without realizing it. The anger burned hot, a fury at Caleb for crossing this line, for daring to want what was mine, but beneath it was a deeper hurt, a fear that maybe I wasn't enough, that I'd failed her somehow. I drove aimlessly for hours, the mountain road slick and dark, feeling like a stranger in my own life. In the days that followed, I kept silent, a decision that ate at me every waking moment. I didn't tell Lauren I'd overheard, didn't call Caleb out, though I stopped answering his texts. I went through the motions, work, dinner with Lauren, small talk about her day, while inside, I was a mess of rage and doubt. I'd catch myself watching her, searching for signs of guilt or affection for him, analyzing every word she said. Did she know I knew? Was she hiding more than I'd heard? I felt like a fraud, smiling at her over coffee while my mind screamed with questions. I'd walk through our neighborhood at night, past the glowing windows of other houses, the autumn leaves piling up on the sidewalks, and feel this crushing loneliness, a longing for the certainty I'd lost. I missed the way things were, the trust I'd taken for granted, but I didn't know how to get it back, or if I even wanted to try. Reflecting on my past, I started seeing things I'd ignored for years. Caleb had always been possessive in a way, not just with me, but with anyone close to him. Quick to jealousy when I made other friends in high school or spent time away. I remembered how he dated girls I liked before I could ask them out, laughing it off as coincidence, and how I'd let it slide because I didn't want conflict. Had he always wanted what I had, always seen my life as something to take? And Lauren, had I missed signals there too, moments of closeness with him I'd written off as friendship? I thought about our marriage, the cracks we'd patched over, and wondered if I'd been too complacent, too sure of her love to notice her needs. I'd sit on our porch swing alone, the mountain air cold against my skin, and feel guilt tangle with my anger, a bitter realization that maybe I'd played a part in this mess without knowing it. The emotional weight deepened as I wrestled with what to do. Part of me wanted to confront Caleb, to drive to wherever he was gigging and demand answers, to end a friendship that now felt like a lie. But another part feared what I'd hear, feared losing the one person who'd been there through my darkest days, even if he'd hurt me now. With Lauren, it was even murkier. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But could I trust her after hearing that conversation? Did care about you mean more than she let on? Or was I spiraling over nothing? I started journaling, something I hadn't done since I was a kid, scribbling my confusion and pain onto pages late at night, trying to make sense of a betrayal that wasn't even fully clear. I'd walk along the French Broad River like I did as a boy, the water rushing dark and cold, and feel this ache for simpler times, for a friendship and a marriage I could believe in again. Now, weeks after that rainy night, I'm at a crossroads, torn between a past I can't change and a future I can't predict. I still haven't spoken to Caleb, though he's called a few times, leaving voicemails about hanging out that I delete without listening. Lauren senses something's wrong. I see it in the way she looks at me, the hesitant way she asks if I'm okay, but I can't bring myself to tell her what I know, not yet. I keep replaying that moment in the kitchen, his confession, her response, and feel this desperate need for clarity, for a truth I'm not sure I'm ready to face. I've been spending more time alone, driving through the mountains at dusk, the ridges glowing amber in the fading light, trying to decide if confrontation is worth the risk, if there's anything left to say with either of them. Lauren's still my wife, still the woman I come home to, but every touch, every word feels shadowed by doubt. And Caleb, can a friendship survive something like this? Or is it already dead? I keep coming back to a memory of me and Caleb as kids, maybe 10 and 12, sitting on the riverbank with our fishing rods, the sun warm on our backs, promising we'd always be there for each other no matter what. I can still feel the weight of that promise, the naive certainty of it. And now it's like a knife, cutting deeper every time I think of what he's done. Trust is such a fragile thing, isn't it? Once it's cracked, can you ever glue it back together? Or do you just live with the pieces? I don't know if I'm ready to face Caleb, to hear his excuses, or if I can look Lauren in the eye and ask the questions burning inside me. I don't even know if I can trust myself to make the right choice, if this pain has warped me too much to see clearly. So, I'm turning to you, whoever's out there listening. Have you ever been caught between two people you love, torn apart by a secret that changes everything? How did you decide who to trust, who to fight for, or if you should just walk away? Did you confront the betrayal head-on, or did you let it fester, hoping time would heal the wound? I'm standing on the edge of a decision that could break what's left of my world, and I don't know which way to step. Should I fight for my marriage, demand answers from my best friend, or protect what little peace I have left by letting them both go? Drop your thoughts, your stories, anything that might help me see through this fog. Because right now, in the quiet of these mountain nights, I'm lost, and I don't know if I'll ever find my way back.